Well, welcome everyone. This to business safety and security for COVID-19 reopening and civil unrest. You have Officer Matt Mills and I here today to give this presentation, and I'd like to thank the Vernon Area Public Library, Buffalo Grove, Lincolnshire Chamber of Commerce, Village of Lincolnshire, and the Village of Buffalo Grove for sponsoring this event and putting this great event together. Matt, if you could switch the slide.
I can. Maybe. Okay.
There we go. Just a quick little bit about ourselves. First, my name is Evan Michel. I'm the assistant to the village manager for the Village of Buffalo Grove. I handle a lot of the community engagement and some of the communications functions for the village and some of the website. And I will be kind of going over the kind of best practices that we've kind of come across for communicating your reopening and communicating with your suppliers, your stakeholders, your customers, your employees about what's going on with your business when it comes to reopening. Officer Mills?
Yep, I'm Officer Matthew Mills. I'm the business liaison for the Buffalo Grove Police Department. Among many other hats I wear. I work with a lot of the businesses and organizations in the community to promote safety and security for the staff members and the patrons. I've worked with a lot of local businesses, school districts, governmental organizations, places of worship, nonprofit organizations, just to address any safety concerns. So we're always available here at the Buffalo Grove Police Department. I am a certified ALICE instructor, which means I'm qualified in active threat training and things in that area. I'm a security assessment specialist, which is a certified class. So I'm happy to come by anybody's place of business and give a security assessment. That's a service that the police department offers for free. And I am also on what's called NIPUS, which is what I'm going to talk about later. That basically means I've been going to almost at least a dozen different protests and rallies and such in the last week. So I've gotten to see what a lot of other communities have gone through, and I was at Buffalo Groves as well. So it gives me a good idea of what we could expect here in our area if things did go bad and how to help you all prepare.
Perfect. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go over kind of communicating your reopening. So I will be going over these kind of three key points. One is to put people and health first. Two is to always have the correct message for the correct platform. And three is actively monitoring and soliciting feedback with your communications and about your reopening. The key that we've discovered is always put people and health first. We have gone through a lot in the past few months with everything that's been going on, and always having that gentle and a helpful tone with all of your communications goes a long way with everyone. It's important to demonstrate how you are taking part in the fight against COVID. So it's important to show that you know what's going on, you know how big of a deal, what everything that's been happening is, and especially not just with COVID, but with some of the civil unrest that's been going on too, showing that you're aware of what's going on and that how you've been taking active part in that. So a lot of the things that we've seen work well when it comes to with a fight against COVID is acknowledging what's going on, and then also showing that, you know, your employees are taking this seriously with social distancing, wearing of the face masks, and following, you know, the governor's kind of roadmap to reopening all of those aspects. Also, it's important to show what employees and customers can expect. So for a lot of businesses, when reopening, it's a lot different than when they originally kind of closed down. A great kind of example of this are the restaurants. So back in, you know, those bygone days of February, back before the stay-at-home orders and where people just had full service bars and restaurants and could just go in. And then it's changed to carry out. And now we're back open to having people with outdoor dining. And it's important to show when your customers show back up again to dine-in facilities that, it'll look different, but it's still still the same. So showing that whether on your social media or your website, what people can expect when they walk in the door, that they'll have, be greeted by a different set of circumstances. And one of the key points is that, one thing is for certain, if you've written anything before March 12th, your tone will be wrong for kind of the world we're in now. So I know a lot of us out there with doing communications, I especially have what I like to call those evergreen communications. So things that you put out, at a certain time every year to, for us, it's, for the holidays or something like that, that we can always just, update and refresh a little bit to push out. Those aren't effective and kind of a little tone deaf now, that you need to be sure that your automatic and automated kind of messaging and communications reflects the world that we're in today. Matt? The correct message for the correct platform. So we all know that we have a lot of different ways to get our messaging out now. And it's important to always have the correct tool for the correct platform. So for your websites, one, make sure everything is up to date now, because that's where people are looking. If you're a barber shop or nail salon or a small retail business, you may not be updating your website regularly. However, now it's very important because a lot of things have changed. So for example, I was looking personally to see what kind of the regulations for my barber shop was now that everything's reopened. And I went to their website and it wasn't updated yet. So I didn't know that if they were, what to expect when I was coming in, if I was able to get my beard trimmed or anything along those lines. And it's important to always make sure that the most up-to-date information you have is up on your website. This is also a place where it is okay to tell more than show. So you can put a lot more of your kind of heavy text-based things of walking people through processes or things like that on your website. We all live in the world of social media now, and that's where a lot of people kind of find our businesses, and we communicate directly with our customers and stakeholders. So with social media, that's a great place to show what you're doing. It's showing that your employees are taking things seriously. You can show off that, take pictures of them wearing masks and doing work social distancing. You can also use that to show off how things will be now. So you could show, like in the picture right here of like a Starbucks, that people do have to wait in line 6 feet apart. And so when people walk in for the first time, they're able to kind of visually know what they're walking into and what to expect. And that will decrease a lot of the angst and the tension that many people may feel coming, because no one likes being surprised when they walk into a situation. Your frontline employees are your most important kind of line of communication. So when all else fails, a lot of people will just call. And it's important to give all your frontline employees all the same information, make sure they are comfortable communicating that information across the board to anyone who kind of calls or walks in. So they know what your business's policies and procedures are when it comes to the reopening. So if someone calls a restaurant asking about when they can come, what the procedure for coming in is, they'll know. And if your nail salon or beauty salon and a customer calls to ask about what your safety kind of new procedures are, that your frontline employees will be able to clearly explain what those are to put your customers' minds at ease. The last one is direct messages. A lot of us have direct cell phone numbers and things like that, so you're able to send text messages out to let your customers and vendors know that, hey, I'm back open. So they were able to know that you're back, this direct messaging, they're able to know that you're open, and then you can direct them to your website or your Facebook page or Twitter feed to show them for more information of what to expect when they come in. Matt, next slide. There we go. And the other key point is you need to actively monitor and solicit feedback. So you need to know that your message is being heard and understood. So whether that be periodic employee pulse survey, so that's just talking to your employees. And it doesn't have to be overly formal, but just speaking with them to know where they see pain points are, where they see any issues going on with people coming in and not knowing what to expect. Because those frontline employees see a lot, know a lot, and they are your experts and boots on the ground. Customer and guest surveys via email, social media channels. That is, directly reaching out to them so you can find out if your messaging has been effective or if any other important things that you need to know about your business from your customers. And then you can always do regular check-ins with your top customers and other business partners. That's where you can, those trusted voices that you have, you can do a deep dive in and get a lot more of that important information that you need. And I'm going to hand it over to Matt now, who will go over his portion.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me and see me. Yeah, we're going to go over keys to a peaceful reopening, and then later on I'm going to talk about civil unrest and some of the steps that you can do to prepare your business. There we go, should be up and running. So again, like Evan stated, communication is really essential for a successful and, more importantly, peaceful reopening. You have to communicate with your employees. Be clear about what the PPE, which is the personal protective equipment, gloves, masks, things like that, what the requirements are for your staff. Does everybody have to wear a mask? Do only frontline employees have to wear a mask? Are gloves going to be required? Things like that need to be clearly explained before you reopen to avoid any stress. Will you be checking employee temperatures when they come to work every day? If you are, what happens if somebody has a fever? Are they sent home? Do they get paid? Do you just monitor them for other symptoms? Things like that. Again, you need to be clear about that and think about how you're going to handle these things before you reopen. What are your policies and expectations going to be for customers and vendors as far as masks, gloves, things like that? And if you do have an employee that just refuses to comply, they're not a mask person, they refuse to wear a mask, they think the whole thing is silly, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to let them go, or are they going to be reprimanded? Are you going to turn the other way, reassign them, have them work from home? Again, you can't go into it thinking, all right, everybody's just going to go along with your plan. You have to be prepared for hiccups and it's people to push back, because it's what people do. With vendors, again, communicate your expectations ahead of time. If they're going to be required to wear masks every time they bring a delivery in, anything like that, anytime they do any business at your site, make sure that the company and the vendors know that ahead of time. And if they don't comply, again, if you get a vendor that just doesn't agree with your procedures, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to switch vendors? Are you going to ask them to send a different rep? Again, these are just things you want to talk about ahead of time, and just so you have a plan. And with our customers, as Evan stated, that's going to be very important. You want to let them know what your company is doing to ensure a safe environment for them. So when they come to your place of business, they know that even though we're all at risk at some point, they know that you're taking steps to keep them as safe as you reasonably can. Let them know what the PPE and social distancing requirements are going to be for your customers. And let them know, just as importantly, what the consequences will be when you do get a customer that refuses to go along with those things. If anybody has been in the stores lately, you know there's going to be customers that refuse to adhere to social distancing. We've had calls at different businesses in towns for people refusing to wear their masks. How are you going to handle that with customers? Those are things you want to plan out ahead of time. To minimize any conflict, you want to be consistent with your expectations and policies within reason. It doesn't mean you have to be strictly by the book. If you get an 80-year-old woman that wears a mask over her mouth but doesn't get that it has to be over her nose too, Are you gonna throw the book at her and kick her out of your business? Or are you just gonna make sure everybody else is socially distanced, let her go about her way and avoid that conflict? So you do wanna be consistent, but you have to use discretion as well. So it's always gonna be a balancing act. Have an adequate amount of masks, gloves, wipes, sanitizer, all those things for employees and customers. If you do get customers or vendors that come to your place of business, and again, they don't have their mask, but you're insisting that they do have a mask, have the disposable masks on hand so you can offer them free of charge, not trying to make any profits off of this, just so that they are able to comply and avoid any conflict. Again, as Evan stated, clearly mark the 6-foot intervals where lines may form. If you've been to any grocery stores lately, even all you need is a roll of duct tape. You don't need to get the fancy signs or anything. At this point, everybody knows why the marks are on the floor, where they're supposed to stand. And if they don't, calmly, reasonably explain it to them and encourage them to comply. Keep adequate space between any tables and desks. Wherever people tend to congregate in your place of business, whether it's employees, customers, a mix of both, just be cognizant of that. When you're reopening, think about, all right, do I need to get rid of a couple of tables? Do I need to rearrange things? Just be aware of that and think about that ahead of time. Don't provide any unpackaged food or beverages for your customers or really even your employees, unless it's completely out of sight to the public. I'm a huge fan of free coffee, whether it's the dry cleaners, whether it's the auto shop, wherever it might be. I'm always about grabbing a free cup of coffee, and that's all gone right now, and I get it. So maybe you'll have 1 or 2 clients that, hey, used to have the Keurig machine out. What happened to it? Again, all you have to do is calmly explain to them why you've taken that precaution, and almost everybody gets it. Almost everybody will go along with the program. Let's see. Cut pens, it's a big thing that people don't think about. A lot of businesses, especially at their front desk, they have the cup of pens where somebody just grabs a pen to sign a receipt or whatever and plops it back in the cup. Just be aware of that, get rid of that cup. It's really unsanitary, A, to begin with, and B, you never know what's gonna set off a customer. If that clerk expects the customer to pick up a pen and sign a receipt with it, and they refuse, again, that could lead to an uncomfortable confrontation. Just avoid it, just have some clean, new, unsanitized pens available. If you do want to reuse the pens, again, just make sure that they're wiped down after every use. Explain that to customers. Be very transparent about that. And depending on what your particular business is, just consider any other steps. Just walk in there with a fresh set of eyes, just look around, think about where people congregate, how you do your business, and go the extra mile to be extra safe as you reopen. Having said all that, even if you do all that, there are going to be conflicts. There are going to be heated exchanges. Everybody's on edge right now. It's been a very stressful few months for all of us, regardless of what your particular situation is. Recognize that, be ready for that. Don't assume that, oh, because they're single and they don't have kids to take care of, they've had it easy for the last couple months. We're all in our own situation. We're all dealing with a lot of stuff that we didn't expect to be dealing with. Just be patient with everybody and use the escalation techniques to, again, diffuse these situations with a minimal amount of conflict. I'm going to go over a few different things you can do, again, hopefully diffuse situations before they rise to the level of a conflict. The first thing you want to explain to your employees, anybody on the front line that has to deal with any customers, it's better to solve a situation than be right. A lot of the times we know we're right, we know the customer is wrong, we know the client's mistaken. That's fine. It's not worth proving it. It's not worth showing them the error of their ways. If there's another solution that can be attained where they're going to leave happy, they're not going to raise a stink about it, go ahead and do it and let your employees know. It's okay, be flexible. As long as you're not putting anybody's well-being at stake, go ahead and do that. Like I said before, avoid absolutes unless health and safety are compromised. So you do want to have your standards, you do want to have a set policy, but be ready to use discretion. not everything is written in stone. As long as nobody's being put in harm's way, be flexible and reasonable. Don't engage in debates with customers. Again, if you have a customer that just thinks masks are the silliest thing, that thinks COVID is a complete ruse by the government, whatever it might be, don't debate them. Don't try and throw facts at them or anything like that. Just listen, let them talk, and figure out a resolution that satisfies them and keeps you and your employees safe. One of the best things you can do is say, I understand you're upset. How can we help with this? Just go from there. Nice open-ended question. And that way they can give you a reasonable resolution to how things can play out. Show empathy through active listening. Again, a lot of these things are things that your frontline employees should be doing anyway, but if they need a little refresher, this is a good time for that. When the customer complains, the best thing you can do, on a side note, this goes for marriage too, if any of you are in a relationship or anything like that, repeat the customer's complaint or request in a concerned and understanding tone. All right, I understand you're upset about us not having this in stock. How can we help? Can we offer an alternative? Can we order it for you? Whatever it might be. Just remain passive. Don't get worked up yourself. Don't try and rise to their level of conflict. Just remain passive, but don't use a condescending tone. Don't be monotone. Just try to really appear concerned about whatever their complaint is, whether it's trivial or whether it's a major complaint. Use proper body language. Again, when you're addressing the individual, you don't want to be shuffling papers or anything like that, not really paying attention to them. Even if you are listening, even if you are paying 100% attention, that's going to set them off. Use proper posture. Don't slouch. Don't be like, all right, are you really making me deal with this? No, use proper posture, be engaged, be polite. Again, these are things that we should all be doing, but a lot of the time, again, especially now, everybody's frustrated. Everybody's been through a lot. Sometimes we forget these things. Don't fold your arms. Don't roll your eyes. Again, just be a good listener. As far as the police response, whenever somebody calls 911, we're going to respond. As trivial as it might be, even if we know we can't really do anything as far as enforcement goes, we'll respond at the very least to try and calm things down and take a report. Again, we'll make every effort to mediate the dispute so that everybody leaves, if not happy, at least not angry. We will not take enforcement action if somebody refuses to put their mask on or if somebody's closer than 6 feet. That's not the police officer's job. We'll come out there, we'll talk to them, but nobody's getting cited, nobody's getting arrested. That goes for employees, it goes for customers, whatever it might be. If someone does complain about employees at a business, again, routinely not wearing their masks, not practicing the social distancing, and it's not going along with the guidelines, we'll take that report. Like I said, we're still going to come out, we'll take that report, and then we'll forward it over to the village, and they'll decide which action is the best approach to take with that business. As a business, you do have the right to refuse service, though, if a customer refuses to comply with your policies. So if somebody doesn't want to wear a mask, you can say, no, you're not welcome in our store anymore. And if they refuse to leave, then we can respond and force them off the private property for trespassing. Again, we really don't want it to get to that point. We'd really prefer to just mediate the situation, but if worse comes to worse and things just can't be resolved in a peaceful, non-law enforcement type manner, then we will come up and we'll make them leave. So we are a resource. Again, if things just get heated to a point where they're not acting responsibly, feel free to call us. As for civil unrest, I know that's been a big concern for a lot of the businesses in town. We work with a lot of event organizers to ensure that things run smoothly and safely. If anybody was aware of the rally that happened last weekend, or last week in Buffalo Grove, I went out to all the businesses that were open up and down McHenry. I spoke to them, I explained what was going to happen, and I left it up to them about whether they were gonna open or close. So we do like to communicate with our businesses. And like I said, we work with the event organizers too, so we have a good idea of what's gonna happen to make sure that their rights are respected, and make sure everybody can go about their business safely. Safety is our main concern when working with an event like that. And the First Amendment rights, making sure those are preserved, making sure everybody's rights are upheld. That's of paramount importance to us. So we will go take every step we can take to ensure that's the case. We work with a lot of different agencies. If you want to read the whole paragraph at the bottom of the screen, feel free. Work with the fire department, PW, all kinds of emergency management organizations. Like I said, NIPUS is what I'm in. And basically what all that means is if things do start to get out of hand, people do start to act up. If we get intelligence ahead of time, all right, it's supposed to be a peaceful protest, but there's a splinter group that's going to go start looting or causing trouble in our business district or in our residential district. We have a lot of resources we can call on. In the past week, I've been in Winthrop Harbor, Waukegan, Gurnee, Buffalo Grove, Roselle, Northbrook, Skokie, Evanston, Barrington, and probably a few more that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, just to make sure everything goes safely. Doesn't always. There have been some instances where things did get out of hand, but in almost every case, as long as things were planned out ahead of time, everybody's been peaceful. So what you as a business person can do. Most important thing, subscribe to the official Village of Buffalo Grove social media feeds. That's where you're going to get a lot of your information pushed out to you. Subscribe to the Everbridge Emergency Alert Program, which you can do through the Village of Buffalo Grove website. Just type in Everbridge in the search bar and it will take you right there. I encourage you, all your employees, to do that as well. If things go crazy, if we need to get emergency information out, that's going to be the source. That's something we can do to flood all the area, every resident that's registered for it, just to let them know, hey, these are the steps you can take, whether it's locking your doors, not going outside, things like that. And we do that for all kinds of things. It's not just, you know, a riot or anything like that. If there's, as far as a police concern, if there's a man with a gun, if there's a missing child even, if there's a 3-year-old that goes missing in the neighborhood, that's how we communicate those emergency things to the public. So subscribe to Everbridge. It's a very important tool that we use. Communicate with the police department. If you have any specific concerns, any questions, I'm always available. All you have to do again is go to the village website. You'll be able to find me on there. I'm listening. If you have any concerns, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll come out to your business, or I'll just shoot you an email and answer your questions. Review your emergency response plan with the employees, assuming you have one. If you don't have one, you're not as overwhelming as you would think. There's a lot of good resources out there. You can go to OSHA, you can go to ready.gov, FEMA. They all have different templates you can use, but make sure that your business, your place of employment has an emergency response plan and that the employees know what to do if there is a different emergency. And again, important, review your insurance policies with your insurer to figure out what losses would be covered and what might not be covered. And see if you want to up your coverage to cover everything. Because you don't want to have to lose your life trying to defend your business when everything's replaceable and you're going to get paid for these things. Other steps you can take prior to civil unrest. Modify your hours of operation. Again, when I was talking with the businesses last week, that was a big one. They were asking if they should close. We had no reason to think that things wouldn't go peacefully here in Buffalo Grove. So I left it up to the business owners. I made no recommendations. Other places I've been, I was in Roselle last Friday. They had a very peaceful march. Everything went fine. But if you're in downtown Roselle last week, you saw the businesses were boarded up, everybody closed early. Just to be careful, just to be sure. So it's a decision every business has to make on their own. If we do get intelligence that, yeah, things might really go ugly, then we'll communicate that with you and make a recommendation. Remove and secure any valuable merchandise. Again, it can be jewelry, cell phones, whatever it might be, cartons of cigarettes, whatever you might have in your business, that you know is going to entice people to come in and grab, ahead of time, just put it in a secure place. Empty storefront displays. Again, grocers, tobacco shops, liquor stores, apparel stores, gas stations, and electronic stores. In my experience, especially over the last week, those are the hot targets. Those are the first places people go to break in. So be very mindful of that. Again, preparing for any civil unrest. Arrange for a board up service. It doesn't look great, but again, when I was in Roselle last week, a lot of the businesses, especially the banks and such, they were all boarded up. People get it, they're gonna understand. Once they're done, call the board up service again, they'll come out and they'll take everything down. If you're a landlord, it doesn't allow you to do the board up service or anything like that, or for whatever reason, it's just not an option for you, but you still think, I have to do something to make my business less of a target. If you look at the picture on the bottom, it's paper all your windows, put in for rent sign. If you have a sign above that, just cover that up with a tarp so that nobody knows that there's even a business in there. Is it as safe and secure as a board up? No. I would always recommend the board up if it really is a concern for you. But that is another option you can take, again, if the board up services aren't available. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Evan.
Yes, I wanted to just kind of give a handful of the village-wide resources that, at least for Buffalo Grove, that the village has to kind of assist with this. We have the BG Delivers page, which is on our website, which is kind of a landing page for some of the social good things that people have been doing during the pandemic. We also have a business bulletin that we send out periodically to our business community. And then we have vbg.org/reopenvg, which is our full webpage dedicated to everything that a business needs to know about reopening with phase 3 going on. So with that, we can turn it over for questions for Matt and I.
Yeah, there was one in the Q&A. I don't know if either of you saw that. I can read it, and probably Officer Mills will answer. Do you have any suggestions on handling customer-to-customer conflicts or arguments that they can get into over policies that the business has? So, for example, a customer jumping in to try and enforce a policy.
Yes, just thank the customer that was trying to enforce a policy, let them know that you'll take care of it. For the other customer that maybe wasn't adhering to the social distancing, whatever it might be, just pull them aside, calmly, empathetically, explain your policies to them and go about it from there. If you want to enforce the policies, if you just want them to be more aware of it as they travel through your place of business, that should be all it takes. Again, if things are getting heated where, all right, somebody bumped into each other in like an aisle or something like that, separating them is the most important thing. Yeah, all right, we're going to talk to the violator, we'll take care of it, we'll handle it, and encourage the other person to go about their way. If things stay heated, if they're just not calming down, again, the police are always an option. We'll come out there, we're not going to cite the person that, bumped into the other person or anything like that. But we can come out, we can talk to them, and again, we can diffuse the situation very well. But separating them is probably the first and most important thing.
If anybody has any additional questions that they want to ask our presenters, you can use either the Q&A function or the chat. We're looking at both of them. I do know that I haven't been the best when it comes to actually reading signs in places. So I wonder if you guys had any, I guess, thoughts about, like a greeter. Is that maybe advised?
It doesn't hurt. If you have the manpower and you want somebody out in front, again, just to make sure, to remind people, hey, don't forget to wear your mask. Most people that have been out shopping and things like that, they know as soon as they get out of their car, they're putting their mask on as they're walking up to the store. Sometimes people do forget. So yeah, if you do have a greeter out in front, It's reminding people, hey, don't forget, you need a mask to come in. Sometimes, again, people just need that gentle reminder. They'll throw down their mask. And if they forgot it in their car, if they forgot it at home, make sure you have those masks available. All right, not a problem. Here, we have a disposable mask, and just hand it to them. Let them go about their way. That's probably the best way to handle that.
Something as well going along with that. Something that I've seen in a lot of some other communities and some other businesses is that they've actually bought branded masks. So they've got, cheap masks that actually have their, their logo on it. So it's a nice way of, if someone forgets their mask, you can hand them one right there with your logo right there on it as well. It's a nice piece of advertising that lets everyone know that you value, safety and what's going on in the world.
And hi, everyone. This is Nicole Woods. I'm with the Community Development Department with the Village of Buffalo Grove. So Village President Beverly Sussman has passed something requiring businesses to put signs out saying that masks are required. So we actually have a sample of that sign. We'll be putting that on our business resources page for everyone to have access to.
That's great. This is actually the thing that I was thinking of when I said it is yesterday I was at the grocery store and I was running in for specific things and I wasn't even thinking, and I was just going through the aisles like I would normally go through the aisles, and another patron there said, there's directions on the floor. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I apologized to her, and she was like just on her way in the direction she should have been going. But really, I think it's just, sometimes it's a mistake. Some people just really didn't know, and maybe some others are just disinterested in going with the flow.
Oh yeah, and that's where the patience comes in. Like I said, people are going to forget their masks. They're going to forget, oh yeah, aisle 8 is going towards the front of the store. Aisle 9 is going towards the back of the store. Or maybe they just forgot one item and they're running down the aisle. It's going to happen. Just patience is the key. And if somebody, like you said, somebody confronted you, you apologized, and I'm sure that was the end of it. So just be patient.
All right, very good. Unless there's any more questions, we can end it here. There were a few comments about making your slides available. Officer Mills, do you think you'd be able to forward this, your slideshow to me, and I can put it on the event page as well as link it to the YouTube, on the YouTube channel?
I would be happy to.
All right, wonderful. And so that being said, if you found this helpful, please feel free to share it. As soon as we're done here, it just has to go through a little bit of editing, and it'll be up and on the web. And I really thank both of you for making the time and sharing your expertise. It was really helpful.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.